Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's another Friday update from Boomshine TV. No gun stuff today. Instead, I'm working on my truck. I've actually gotten a couple of messages from people asking about the setup on my truck as far as my lights go. The way I had it set up originally wasn't very effective. I had one relay controlling a full-size 30-inch light bar and two small auxiliary spotlights all running through one relay. I got a lot of current bleed over, and they, were staying illuminated when they shouldn't be, and all kinds of stupid stuff because I didn't do it correctly. So I ripped all the wiring out of my truck. I'm redoing everything. What I'm using for that, the mess that you see in front of you, well, actually, it's not really a mess. It just looks like it right now because I have all of the wires, I have all of the zip ties cut off so I could add the connectors that I need and whatnot. But what you see in front of you is an MTA relay bank. I got this on Amazon. I got it about 6 months ago. I don't remember what I paid for it, but it allows you to run up to 4 relays inside this bank. It's all sealed with a grommet. It's it's not weatherproof, but it's weather resistant, I guess. I mean, nothing with a grommet that small is going to be completely weatherproof, but this is going to go inside the cab anyway, so it's not a big deal. But anyway, I did all the wiring already for the relays, and these two extra blanks right here are secured with zip ties, and then I just got the extra wires just kind of tucked into a wire loom because I'm not using them right away, just to keep them out of the way. And then the rest of these, I have one relay for the spotlights, and then another relay for the 30-inch light bar. The spotlights are going to be controlled on one switch, which is why they're only controlled with one relay. So that's okay, because I have them spliced together, and one power wire and one ground wire is going into both lights, so that's all right. But as you can see, if you're not familiar with how relays work, basically they take the higher amperage draw of your accessories, and essentially there's a magnetic switch inside here. So instead of having all of that current running through your wires and then running into your switch, the relay takes the brunt of the amperage, and that way it only takes a very, very minimal amount of current to actually make the connection inside the switch in the cab. So you can run much higher powered lights and stuff without worrying about burning up wires or burning up your switches. That's the reason that I'm doing this. I only have a 30-inch light bar and two very small, 3x3 LED spotlights. And I'll roll in some footage of the finished product when I get all this put together, that way you can see what I'm talking about. And I'll roll in footage of the switch panel as well. But anyway, that's the reason I'm running relays. I just don't want to have the high draw going through the switch. I want the relay to take the brunt there. So anyway, these are single pole, single throw relays. They're 4-pin. The MTA block does have the option for the 5-pin relay, but I'm only using a 4-pin relay because I don't have a secondary accessory that would require a second power lead. So I'm only using 4-pin relays. These are Navita RL14s. I got these at AutoZone. So that's what I'm using. It says 1A on the front. That doesn't mean 1 amp. These things are actually rated up to, I believe, 20 amps. So anyway, that's plenty of amperage for my needs. A 30-inch light bar only draws, I think, maybe 10 or 11 amps at the most. So that's not a concern. So anyway, how this thing works, you plug the relay in at the top, and then on the bottom here, you have where your relay wires come out. You can run any color wires you want for this. I obviously have them differentiated, so for each relay you have black, white, red, and green. And for these, the black is obviously the ground. That's typically used for ground wire. So I got the black here. I've secured all of my connections with crimp fittings and heat shrink tubing, because it makes it cleaner and it looks better. So black is the ground. Red goes directly to this fuse block right here. Green connects to the switch, and then white actually connects to the positive lead coming off of each accessory. So basically the reason that I chose this setup, the relay bank and the fuse block, is that this allows me to only have one primary wire coming off the battery leading into the truck. The primary wire is 10 or 12 gauge, I don't remember which, and it feeds into the fuse block here. So I bolt the primary wire into there, and then inside the truck I can split off and use the fuse block to feed everything else without having a bunch of power wires running off of my battery and coming into the truck. So I have a positive wire for the light bar, a positive wire for the two spotlights, because I spliced them in the engine bay and ran one wire into the cab. So that's only a total of 3 wires that I had to run into the cab. Now I have other wires for my CB and the antenna and the, you know, all that other stuff. But as far as my accessories go, that allows me to minimize the amount of, you know, stuff I have to shove through the door grommet. So that worked out nicely. So anyway, this fuse block is kind of nice. I got all this stuff on Amazon. It's not terribly expensive. I don't remember how much I paid for it, but this fuse block's cool because you got your primary wire coming in here, and then you have up to 6 fuses you can add to it. And when a fuse pops, the fuse bank will light up in the position that the fuse is blown in. So you don't have to worry about taking a flashlight and, you know, digging fuses out trying to see which one popped. This will light up and tell you which one is actually blown. So you can just take this cover off, which is secured by this little push button here, right there, and pop that off, swap your fuse out, and then as soon as you put a good fuse in, the light goes out. So hopefully I won't have that issue with any fuses blowing, which is the reason that I'm doing this. I don't want to risk that. So both of these will end up in the cab. I'm not sure where yet. So I don't have to worry about water intrusion or anything else. But it should really simplify things. So I'll go ahead and finish this up, and then I'll get back with you guys as soon as it's done. Stand by. All right, guys, we're back. Just got done. It's kind of a pain in the ass, but everything's finished up here. I don't remember if I showed this in the very first video on my channel that I posted about these brackets, but if it did show it in the video, you'll remember I had all the wiring exposed up here, just kind of laying across the top of the engine cover. It looked really janky. I went ahead and fixed all of that. I forgot to slip a piece of heat shrink tubing on that, so I'm gonna have to cover it with tape or something eventually, but for now, it's the end of the day. I'm getting ready to go home. So anyway, all that's cleaned up. I have 3/4 inch wire loom protecting everything going all the way across the engine bay, and the factory location where the factory wiring harness is for the stereo and everything else, and the fuse for the stereo. So if you open up your positive terminal on the battery, I took my multi-tool, has a little file on it, and I just filed out a little notch for the wires to sit down in so they don't get pinched when the door is closed. If I can zoom in on that a little. You see, nothing fancy, just, you know, it's pretty rough. Just filed it out with my multi-tool. So anyway, this power wire, the smaller one, is for my CB radio, and then the bigger 12 gauge wire, that's running the power for the fuse box, the 6 fuse fuse box that I showed you earlier. So that just snaps shut and then it stays closed. The wires aren't getting pinched and the wires aren't forcing this thing to stay open like they were before. So basically how it's set up, got my one off-road light here, got that running down to the main harness for everything else, and then I've got the ground drilled into the firewall right there for that, and then the positive goes through here all the way across, and then before we get to that, down here for the front light bar that's mounted to the Go Rhino bumper that I have on here, the harness for that runs down. I've got it secured to the, sorry, it's getting kind of wonky with the camera here, I apologize. I've got it secured to the side of not the light bar, the push bumper here. It goes down underneath through where the old tow bracket was, and it goes way down there into the wire loom. That's sealed at both ends with tape, so hopefully that keeps most of the elements out. But that goes underneath and comes back up over here along the radiator and pops out up here. I've got this secured with zip ties here to keep it up out of the way because I might end up doing a dual battery setup right here. I'm not sure about that yet. And the ground for that is drilled right there. That's the ground for the light bar, the big light bar. And that comes up here, and that's this right here underneath this angle bracket is kind of where everything joins together right here. I've got my other off-road light mounted to the bracket right here, and then this is my CB antenna mount, and the ground for the CB is right here. My CB antenna screws into this when I'm actually using it. Right now I'm not. I want to get a quick disconnect for that, and I haven't gotten one yet, so I'm just leaving the antenna off so no one steals it, because people suck. But I'm using a Fire Stick. This is a Fire Stick mount, in case you're curious. And then it's the Fire Stick cable that has the, I forget what the term is for this, Firewire, I think, something like that, where it mounts to the bottom flush. And all of this is mounted to the hood, so it pivots with the hood, but even at full extension, you still have plenty of clearance. It doesn't hit. So it's pretty close on the CB mount, but it doesn't hit. It's good enough for me. I'm not going to be driving around with my door or with my hood open, so that's fine. Anyway, so this wire here is the ground for the this wire here is the ground for the CB, and this is the CB antenna wire, and then this is the positive and negative for the light itself. So I've got both of the grounds for both the CB and the other light on the driver's side grounded to the factory grounding point right here. And then the rest of the wires continue there. I've got the CB antenna wiring and the positive wiring for the lights ran through separate wire loom just to limit RF interference. I don't know if that makes any difference or not, but I had extra loom, so I used it. And that runs down through the driver's side wheel well area here. And then it comes in right there. It goes through the door grommet right here. It's completely sealed with RTV silicone. So the wire loom, I mean, the wires are kind of exposed right here, but there's no water that's going to be able to get into the cab from there. So anyway, so all those wires come in here. Again, separate looms for the CB and the power for the accessories. And that runs across and down here. I'll explain this red wire in a second. I have this all taken apart so I can tuck this into the loom. But anyway, it is a complete rat's nest, but I have both the, I don't even want to show you this because it's really, really janky, but I've got the fuse block and the relay block mounted back here. These just pop up. The fuse block is mounted this way, so all I have to do is lift this up if I have a blown fuse, and I can just replace it. Then all the other wires run up underneath the dash. And I have a custom switch block that I made. This the material that I've used here is too thin. When I have my CB sitting down in here, it actually makes it bow. So I'm going to redo this. I'm actually going to build kind of almost a police style console. I'm going to get some wood and build side blocks for this to raise it up so the CB has more room. And then I think what I'm going to do, all that extra wire back there is because I want to move the fuse block and the relay block up into here eventually. But these are five gang switches. So there's actually 5 points on the back. And the reason for that is because these switches will light up both when you have the key turned on and when you have an accessory on. And that's what this other red wire over here is for. I had a hell of a time finding a area in the 2007 and up Tahoes that actually had retained accessory power. None of the fuses in the fuse block here have retained accessory power, and what that means is when you turn the key on, the fuse will become hot, and then when you turn the key off, it kills the power. I wanted the reason I wanted that is because these switches have the capability to come on whenever your dash lights are on, whenever your running lights are on, and I'll show you that right now. So when you put the key in, your dash comes on, and the switches illuminate. And then, when you turn the accessory that you have hooked up, I got the spotlights here and the bumper light bar here. Those are on. And now the light bar is on. So there's a secondary light bulb in there that lights up, which is why you have the 5 positions instead of 3. So, anyway, the only place that there is retained accessory power so you can do that is inside this little fuse panel, or accessory panel right up here. It's pin number 8. Right here. It's pin number 8. And it only will take like a few milliamps. It's not a high voltage circuit, so you can only power either a relay or very low draw items like the LEDs and those switches, or else you will fry this circuit. So eventually I'll probably run this into a relay, but right now, since it's just powering the lights, those little tiny LEDs inside the switches, that's fine. I don't have to worry about overloading this circuit. But it's pin number 8 right here. You got your 3, sorry, it's kind of hard to see. You got your 3 white, orange, and blue factory plugs here, and then right below that, you have an empty space, okay? You've got 5 pins inside this block. It is the lower left, I'm sorry, 6 pins. It is the lower leftmost pin that allows you to get retained accessory power, okay? So just get a spade terminal or whatever and tap into that, and you can run, low power accessories like little tiny LED lights. But I'm gonna go ahead and tuck this red wire into the rest of the loom, and then I'm done, at least for now, until I get the rest of this figured out. So sorry my truck is so dirty. I'll roll in some footage of the lights turned on right after this. All right, guys, just pulled up on a nice dark side street. There's no lights around. I'm gonna show you the spotlights and everything turned on now that everything's done. So there's the finished product. I got my CB mounted back up and the mic put back in place and everything. But we'll start with the little spotlights. So I'm gonna leave my parking lights on just so someone doesn't come up behind me and hit me, but the headlights are off. So here is the spotlights, two little guys on the side. So those don't put out a whole lot of light. I mean, they're good enough, they're just there for auxiliary warning. And then there's a big light bar. Quite a bit of difference. It needs to be angled up a little bit more because it's kind of angled down a bit, but anyway, that's that. There's a car coming up behind me, so I'm going to pause this real quick and let them go by so I don't blind them as they pass. So hang on a second. Alright, sorry about that. Those guys are far enough ahead that we don't have to worry about it anymore. So anyway, spotlights again, bumper light bar again. And this is with my headlights off. With my headlights on, not a whole lot more light. I mean, if the light bar was angled up a little bit more, then yeah, you'd have a little bit more distance vision, but it doesn't provide a whole lot more than what the light bar can do all by itself. Anyway, again, there it is. The spotlights and bumper light bar on, whatever position is turned on, the top part will light up brighter and let you know that it's on. So anyway, let me jump out real quick, I guess. Turn all that back on so you can see how it looks from the front. Yeah. Those little guys right there on the mounted to the sides of the hood. They're very bright. And the light bar right there. Yeah, it's very bright. And as you can probably tell from the type of glare you're getting, it's a combination spot and floodlight. So the center ones here, those are a little bit more focused. The reflector is more focused. And as you get off to the side, you can probably see the difference there. The reflector is actually dimpled a little bit, and there's a small lens. The lens's curvature changes a little bit, so it's more of a flood on the sides. So anyway, that's that. We got a pretty good, let me stand up here, pretty good amount of light coming off all of that, so works out very well. It's great to have auxiliary lighting. But anyway, that's Boomshine TV for the week. I'm gonna try to get to the range next week and fire that new Glock 34 a little bit more, and maybe make some modifications to that and share all that with you. So anyway, until next week, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. It's Boomshine TV. See ya.